Hello and welcome back to the Stronghold. The Magi here, and it has come to my attention that it has been almost a year since we talked about a Greasefang at all, much less a budget version, and that deck has gotten nothing but more budget friendly as the last year has gone on. And with the coming of Ixalan in just a couple of weeks, we are sure to get even more vehicle love potentially for this deck. So I thought it was a good time to look at a more up-to-date budget version. But before we get into all that, thank you to all my new and prior followers on Twitch, helping us get one step closer to affiliate status. And one of those lucky followers picked up 2 starter decks for their arena collection. My next big project here at the Stronghold is going to be to launch a Discord server featuring all sorts of chat channels about deck brewing, meta formats, helping you find a pairing for your own game, as well as channels to simply be social, find help, streaming, and special content. But to make this happen, I'm going to need the help of at least 10 people to step up and make a pledge of $1 or more per month over on Patreon. And hey, for only $1 a month, it's a lot of value, so make sure you're checking it out. And there's even a lot of content there that isn't released anywhere else, even for people who are not supporting on Patreon. Now, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, right. Alright, so let's take a look at this deck list, and as is often the case, I am going to start with the land base here, keeping it pretty basic, 6 plains and then 5 each swamps and forest. But as always, keep in mind that as you make changes to the deck list in order to better fit your collection, these lands, and in particular the basic lands that we're using as fillers, are subject to change in quantities. From there, I've got 1 each of the appropriate colored pain lands that I know everyone this year has at least 1 of. Just easy to adjust from there with lands that you already have. The only dual lands that I really recommend crafting at this point are the Ravnica shock lands. And keep in mind, there is a small chance for some of the shock lands to get reprinted this year, as we have a Return to Ravnica set, although there is a lot of speculation that we won't see these this time around, as this set is not guild based. Beyond that, some rare lands to keep in mind. Fabled Passage is one of those rare lands that I do recommend because it fits every single deck combination. Mana Confluence is a bit of an Explore Historic card that works very much like a pain land, but it can produce any color mana that you need, so it's perfect for these 3 or more color decks, or things that have very challenging multi-pip costs. Plaza of Heroes is from the current standard collection. In Legendary Matters, there's a number of legendary creatures / vehicles in this deck, so that can come to bear. Plus, it will allow you to produce mana based on those legendary creatures that you have as well. And of course, if you've been around much this year, you would know that Thran Portal is one of those current standard cards that I think might be worth crafting for a lot of folks, because once again, it works very similar to a pain land, but can allow you to smooth out your mana curve for any 2 or more colored deck without the need for a specific dual land. Now for the remainder of the deck. The first 2 columns represent your turn 1, turn 2 plays, and frankly, they're all about getting cards into your graveyard so that you can trigger the combo as soon as possible. The first column is all cards that are available to you from the current standard mix. Gnawing Vermin. Remember, target player, not necessarily has to be your opponent. So you can target yourself with its ETB trigger to put a combo piece into the yard. Riffian's Informant, when it ETBs, it connives, yet another opportunity to put something into the yard, as well as make the informant stronger. Return Triumphant is actually moving in reverse. This allows you to return target creature with a mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield and create a young hero token attached to it. Of course, this is in here to get Greasefang out of the yard if it gets milled in. And Scrapwork Mutt has another ETB trigger that you may discard a card to draw a card. The unearth factor really doesn't come into play, but again, with the cards like Mana Conflux and Thran Portal, you may have the access to the red mana. These cards in the second column are all things that might be worth considering for some wild cards. Divest is kind of the poor man's Thoughtseize, but works just as well in this deck. Target player reveals their hand, you choose an artifact or creature card from it, that player discards that card. For this and the much more renowned Thoughtseize, keep in mind you're targeting yourself, not your opponent. Traverse the Ovenwild is a rare that is worthy of some testing and at least a single craft here. Search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Delirium, if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, instead search your library for a creature card or land card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. So this is a great way to get Greasefang into your hand if you've gone a couple turns and just haven't drawn into it in any way. Vassal of Nascency, a 1-mana uncommon from the recent remastered set. Sacrifice a Vassal of Nascency, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You may put an artifact, creature, or enchantment, land, or planeswalker card from among them into your hand. Put the rest into your graveyard. So the important part is you may put a blah 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 into your hand, but you don't have to. So you can put them all into your yard if you want to. Of course, if you happen to draw the single planeswalker in this deck or a creature that you want to cast, like Greasefang, you have the option to do it. Otherwise, you can dump a bunch of stuff into your yard. And the last common wild card that you often see in this, although it can be hard to cast with black-green on 2, reveal the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a creature or land card from among them into your hand, put the rest into your graveyard. And this is very much like Vassal of Nascency. It's a may. So if you have a creature or a land that you'd rather put into your yard, and then by all means, you can do that. The singular planeswalker in this is Liliana of the Veil, just because it has been so accessible the last 2 years in Standard. The main effect that you're going for here is the +1, each player discards a card, although making your opponent sacrifice a creature, or even yourself, in some instances, sacrificing a creature can be very useful. If you don't have one of these, I don't think this card is essential enough to burn a Mythic wild card, although definitely be on the lookout for this low-hanging fruit in Jump In particular. Next up, we've got Conduit of Worlds. This is from your new player experience. You may play lands from your graveyard. Also, you can tap it, choose a non-land permanent card from your graveyard. If you haven't cast a spell this turn, you may cast this card. If you do, you cannot cast additional spells this turn. Activate only as a sorcery. So this is in here to keep your main combo piece on the field. If they are able to deal with it and it goes to the yard, this is a nice way to get it right back. And of course, the main combo piece for this is from your standard options at the moment, although it is a year 3 rare Greasefang, legendary creature, rat pilot, 1 mana of any color, a white and a black. It's a 4/3. At the beginning of combat on your turn, return target vehicle card from your graveyard to the battlefield, it gains haste. Return it to the owner's hand at the beginning of your next end step. So basically you play Greasefang on 3 and you grab one of the other things from this column and the next column from your yard, put it into play, swing, and in many cases come very close to winning the game. Right now I've got 3. I think that is a viable option for a budget build. Maybe you haven't played Greasefang before, you're not sure if you like it. Maybe you just don't have 4 wild cards to put into it at the moment. All of those things are viable options. From there, we've got what I refer to as the premier vehicle package, and that is Asika's Chariot and Parhelion II. Both of these make tokens when they come into play, so even though you might potentially lose the creature at end of turn, i.e. the vehicle at end of turn, those tokens are going to hang around for a while and continue to build your board position. The other premium option is the console ship. This one's a mythic, so I think 1 is a perfectly reasonable craft. I've seen many versions of the deck that don't even run 1. But it's pretty nice. A 6/5 flyer, when it ETBs or attacks, it deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. So yeah, it's just going to start removing their blockers very quickly. So it's a nice piece to have. And if you notice, this Asika's Chariot is a crew 4 and Parhelion also a crew 4. And if you notice, Greasefang himself has a power of 4, so he crews all of these by himself. Pretty awesome stuff. And of course, all of these, if they come in with Greasefang, you lose them you don't lose them, they return to your hand at the end of that turn. Unless, of course, you use Liliana's -2 to sacrifice it and put it back in the yard, in which case you just rinse and repeat. Now, the ideal number on this is 4 Chariots and 4 Parhelions, just like Greasefang. You want to hit those combo pieces as much as possible, but I know this column alone could be a big strain on people's wild cards. So I've got Chariot and Parhelion down to just 2, and I've got 4 suggestions for budget alternatives that would allow you to still combo. Of course, they are not nearly as good, but in particular, if you're looking to build a one-of Brawl collection, these are great additions. Daredevil Dragster, at end of combat, if the Dragster attacked or blocked this combat, put a velocity counter on it. Then if it has 2 or more velocity counters, sacrifice it to draw 2 cards. It's a crew 2/4/4. Vomit Bazaar Barge. When it ETBs, you get to draw a card, and it crews 3 and a 5/5. Pretty good. Iron Root Crusher, another crew 3, a 6/6 for 4 mana. And Thundersteel Colossus has Trample and Haste, crews 2, and is a 7/7 beater. I think this is the best of the B team.
And before we go, I want to take just a moment to thank all of my patrons and remind the community when we hit just 10 patrons at any level, we will be rolling out Discord for the entire community, not just paid patrons. So if you have the means or mind to do so, consider supporting our community as it continues to grow. And of course, supporting the community by liking, commenting, subscribing, or sharing our videos is always appreciated. And you will appreciate subbing to the channel so you never miss out on a thing. And of course, we have some suggestions here on the next videos that you're going to want to check out.